Washington's tariff gamble is colliding with reality, and the fallout is game-changing. Canada, once assumed to be America's most reliable partner, is now building trade bridges across Europe, Mexico, and even Denmark, while Ireland is openly declaring that aligning with Ottawa is the obvious choice under U.S. tariffs. Add to that a massive Canadian defense procurement that bypasses American contractors, and Denmark accusing Washington of covert operations in Greenland, and what emerges is a breaking story about shifting alliances, hidden agendas, and the erosion of U.S. leverage. Prime Minister Mark Carney's globe-trotting diplomacy is no routine itinerary. This morning in Ottawa, he welcomed Ireland's Prime Minister for talks about trade and investment. Hours later, he boarded a plane to London for back-to-back meetings with leaders of the United Kingdom, Spain, and Denmark. These events might seem routine, but together they expose something unprecedented. U.S. tariffs are pushing traditional allies to look elsewhere. Since early September, Donald Trump's administration has enforced its reciprocal tariff regime. That means duty-free treatment on small imports is gone. Heavy trucks face surcharges. And starting October 1st, branded pharmaceuticals carry a 100% tariff. For Ireland, a country where pharmaceuticals are the backbone of the economy, the signal is shocking. Dublin is now pledging to ratify its trade agreement with Canada, expand investment, and even send a high-level trade mission across the Atlantic. What's at stake is more than exports. Ireland wants predictability, and Canada offers it. Irish policymakers are opening infrastructure projects like Dublin's metro system to Canadian bidders. Meanwhile, Irish companies are eyeing opportunities in Canada's own massive infrastructure plans. It's not friction-free. Interprovincial trade barriers and regulatory red tape remain, but both governments are working to streamline. The key point is that Ireland, soon to hold the EU Council presidency, is putting its political weight behind a pivot that undermines Washington's strategy. The European Union is recalculating. Even with a 15% ceiling on autos and parts bound for the U.S., companies and governments see Canada as a safer bet. When a mid-size EU economy like Ireland calls Ottawa the obvious hedge, the realignment is clear. Washington designed tariffs to draw partners closer, but the effect is dispersal. Trade flows are being rerouted, not toward U.S. factories, but through Canada and Europe. Mexico is another piece of this puzzle. In Mexico City, Mark Carney signed a comprehensive strategic partnership with President Claudia Sheinbaum. This pact covers infrastructure, agriculture, energy, and public safety. It creates a framework for ports, rail, and energy corridors linking the two economies. For Canada, it means better access to markets and new ways to move resources. For Mexico, it promises investment and secure trade channels. For Washington, it marks a surprising outcome. The pressure meant to isolate Ottawa has created continental unity instead. The context is urgent. Both Canada and Mexico know that the North American Trade Pact comes up for review in 2026. Trump has shown he is willing to use tariffs as leverage or even threaten withdrawal. That is why both governments are consulting industries now, preparing for every scenario. Their new partnership is framed as complementary to the existing pact, but its real purpose is insurance against volatility from Washington. The same theme runs through defense. Canada is replacing its submarine fleet, a project valued in the tens of billions. But instead of turning to U.S. contractors, Ottawa has shortlisted Germany and South Korea. That decision alone represents an unprecedented break. Billions that once flowed into U.S. shipyards are now set to land in Hamburg or Busan. Carney's logic is straightforward. If Washington treats Canada as an adversary in trade, it cannot expect loyalty in defense. The pattern deepens in Europe. In Berlin, Canada signed a partnership on critical minerals. In Warsaw, it strengthened NATO commitments. And in Latvia, it reinforced energy and security ties. Carney even floated the export of Canadian LNG through Churchill Port to cut Europe's reliance on Russian gas. Each move widens Ottawa's options, and each one reduces dependence on the United States. Denmark adds another layer of intrigue. While Copenhagen accuses Washington of covert operations in Greenland, likened by some to Russian influence tactics, Canada is doubling down on cooperation. Ottawa and Copenhagen are advancing a green trade corridor built on offshore wind, hydrogen, and clean aluminum. Denmark's energy island concept is being adapted in Atlantic Canada. And with the EU's carbon tariffs set to hit in 2026, Canada's hydro-based aluminum has a built-in advantage. What emerges is two competing futures. Washington's path relies on tariffs and covert campaigns to project influence. Canada's path builds partnerships, invests in green energy, and diversifies markets. For allies, the choice looks clearer every month. The implications are massive. American consumers face higher prices on goods like trucks, furniture, and medicine. American industries risk losing contracts and capital that are shifting toward Canada and Europe. And in the Arctic, trust inside NATO itself is being tested. All eyes are now on Ireland's formal ratification of its trade deal with Canada, Mexico's follow-through on its new partnership, and Ottawa's final submarine decision. Each of these milestones could reshape trade and security in the next 48 hours, the next months, and the years leading up to 2026. The scoreboard will not be rhetoric. It will be investment flows, supply chains, and defense contracts. And so far, the numbers are moving away from Washington. If tariffs were meant to strengthen U.S. power, they have instead accelerated a wave of diversification. Canada is not being cornered. It is emerging stronger, building alternatives, and setting the pace for allies who no longer see Washington as the only option. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. Like this video if you found the analysis clear, subscribe for more exclusive breakdowns, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Washington can turn this around, or has the tide already shifted?